House of Representatives is now in session. Please let the House come to order. Please stand as we're led in prayer today by the gentleman from Lafayette. Remain standing thereafter for the pledge.
Let's bow our heads. Lord, we know we cannot please both God and man, but we sure try. We are told your ways are above our ways, and the wisdom of this world is foolishness to you, but we often don't listen. You have provided us a book of Proverbs and of governmental guidance and monetary responsibility, but we fall short so often. Through your word, we are shown the faults of nations, the rise and fall of nations. Still, we allow history to repeat itself over and over. Lord, for these reasons, we ask that you work through us or in spite of us. Amen. Attention, salute, pledge. We pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk.
There's a quorum present, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Have the reading of the journal. Gentleman from Rankin moves we dispense with the reading of the journal. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. For the select committee.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
For the standing committee.
We have reports on the calendar, Mr. Speaker.
Introductions of bills and constitutional amendments. Gentleman from Marion, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading of the introductions.
Is there objection? Hearing none, we will do that. Resolutions, petitions, memorials, and other papers.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. This time we'll have introductions of guests and visitors. Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Stamp.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to direct the attention of the House members to the South Gallery. We have Alderman Calvin Williams from the town of Utica. Calvin, please raise your hand. Please make him feel welcome.
Gentleman from Union, Mr. Creekmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to welcome a good friend of mine from New Albany in the North Gallery, the head of the Light, Gas, and Water, Mr. Bill Maddox.
Lady from Forest, Ms. McGee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is my honor today to introduce our doctor of the day, who I do not believe has made it down here yet, but it is Dr. John Godet. He's a pediatrician from Hattiesburg, and he currently serves as a professor at the School of Medicine at William Carey University. He has served us many years now, and I would ask that y'all all show our appreciation for his service.
Thank you, Doctor. We appreciate your service. Gentleman from DeSoto, Mr. Eubanks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, if you'll help me welcome a former member and friend, Representative Mark Formby, and his son Eli, who will be with us this week.
Any further introduction? I don't see any. We'll go to the calendar. I noticed a number of bills in conference. If you're chairman, please get us your conferees. Concurrence, non-concurrence, any chairman have an item here they wish to take on? I don't see any. Who? Jim from Grenada? Mr. Horan? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker. Item number 3, I believe. House Bill 1052, move to invite conference.
All right, motion is to invite conference. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it.
Also have item number 16, House Bill 863, move to invite conference.
All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
And 17, 906, move to invite conference.
Motion is to invite conference. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman from Forest, Mr. Byrd.
Thank you. I'd like to go to item number 35 and invite conference. House Bill 719. Invite conference, please.
I'm sorry, sir, I was distracted.
Okay. It's fine.
Which one you want?
Item 35, House Bill 719, invite conference.
Motion is to invite conference. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Jim Rankin, Mr. Shanks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 5, HCR number 39, and invite conference.
Motion is to invite conference. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Jim from Tishomingo, Mr. Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Two items. Item number 33, House Bill 677, invite conference.
Motion is to invite conference. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Item number 53, House Bill 1177, invite conference.
Motion is to invite conference. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Jim from Calhoun, Mr. Beckett.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, item number 65, that is House Bill number 1510. I would like to invite conference.
Motion is to invite conference. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Jim from Marshall, Mr. Kincaid.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Item number 45, House Bill 942. I'd like to move to invite conference.
Motion is to invite conference. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
And then item 47, House Bill 1035. Likewise, invite conference.
Motion is to invite conference. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Lady from Amite, Ms. Cockerham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Item number 39, House Bill 770. I move to invite conference.
Motion is to invite conference. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Item number 68, House Bill number 698. I move to invite conference.
Motion is to invite conference. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Jim from Pike, Mr. Mims. Jim Jackson, Mr. Busby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item 14, House Bill 811, and invite conference.
Motion is to invite conference. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I'd also like to go to item 20, House Bill 1185, and invite conference.
Motion is to invite conference. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
One more, item 46, House Bill 971, invite conference.
Motion is to invite conference. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Jim from Pike, Mr. Mims.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 64, House Bill 1509, and invite conference.
Motion is to invite conference. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Jim from Alcorn, Mr. Bain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Item number 11, House Bill 607. I would like to invite conference.
All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Same thing on number 12, Mr. Speaker. House Bill number 620. Move to invite conference.
Motion is to invite conference. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
All right, Mr. Speaker, if I could, item 26, House Bill 1479. Move to invite conference.
Motion is to invite conference. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
And I think I got one more, Mr. Speaker. Number 40, House Bill number 799. Move to invite conference.
Motion is to invite conference. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Jim from Walthall, Mr. Pygott.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 69, House Bill 1065, invite conference.
Motion is to invite conference. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Jim from Rankin, Mr. Weathersby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On item 56, I'd like to invite conference.
Motion is to invite conference. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. All right, I don't see anyone else on the concurrence. Jim from Tate, Mr. Lamar.
Mr. Speaker, if you would help me with my procedure a little bit, the Ways and Means Committee just reported out several bills. Have those been, the titles been read yet? Or?
No, Madam Clerk has not yet read the committee report.
Okay.
I can recognize her do that. Do you have that yet, Madam Clerk? She doesn't have the committee report yet.
Okay, well, we just need to make sure we don't move on until that gets done so we can have those bills read.
We'll wait. All right. Anything further on concurrence, non-concurrent? I don't see any. Rules? Passes. Appropriation? Passes. Ways and Means, local and private? Passes. All right, let me get a motion to recess subject to call there, Mr. Chairman. Vermont Tibby Hall.
Motion to recess, subject to call.
All in favor say aye, opposed nay. Ayes have it, House is in recess subject to call.
I just turned my page just a minute ago.
additional improvements, time sufficient, do pass. Senate Bill 3153, bonds authorized to assist in paying cost of IHL community and junior colleges and state agencies' capital improvements, time sufficient, do pass as amended, strike all. Senate Bill 3163, income tax authorized credit for certain expenditures for railroad reconstruction or replacement or new rail infrastructure. Time sufficient, do pass as amended, strike all. Senate Bill 3164, taxation, cut grocery tax by 2%, phase out 4% income tax bracket, cut general fund portion of car tag fees and give rebate. Time sufficient, do pass as amended, strike all.
All right, I recognize the chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Madam Clerk, for reading the committee introductions. I would ask that we go to Senate Bill 3164. Call that bill up, make the usual motion.
Jim calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read a third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it.
We also have I believe we have a strike all that needs to be called up or adopted.
Hang on just a second, sir.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk indicates she does not have the strike all yet. So we're going to suspend business for just a second to see if we can get it up here.
We'll see.
Gentleman from Fayette, what purpose do you seek recognition?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Introduction out of order, Mr.
Yes,
Speaker.
sir, you're recognized.
I'd like to recognize in the North Gallery my desk mate's wife, Becky Hopkins. Please make her feel welcome, and God bless her soul.
That's not even a time for it.
I said, God bless her soul.
God bless her soul, yeah.
Lady from Forest, Ms. McGee, you have an introduction?
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to introduce our doctor of the day now that he has made his way to the House chamber. The Senate kept him too long, and so he missed his introduction. Dr. John Godet, and he has two brilliant medical students from William Carey University here with us. So would y'all please give them a round of applause now that they are in the chamber. Thank you so much.
Gentleman from DeSoto, Mr. Darnell.
Introduction out of order.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to welcome Miss Vicki McClendon. That's Senator Michael McClendon's wife.
I'm told we're ready. I'm going to recognize the chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We back on the bill?
Yes, sir.
Okay, have we adopted the strikeout?
No, but you're recognized to present it.
All right, I will present the strikeout as this. Ladies and gentlemen, this bill is Senate Bill 3164. This is more commonly known as the Senate's version of the tax bill this year. No doubt you've heard about it. No doubt you're familiar with what the provisions are in it. You're also familiar with the bill that we passed the second week of the session, which was our bill. So let me just kind of start by telling you, go line by line, or really item by item, what's in the strikeout. And the strikeout would remove the sentence language and insert essentially the framework of the House bill. Over the course of the last 2+ months, we have meticulously listened, watched, and paid attention to every single objection that the Senate has stated about the House language. And therefore, every single objection that they have made has been addressed in this bill. I'll start by saying this. The Senate has first of all said that they, under no circumstances would they agree to any amount being increased in general sales tax. As you recall, the House plan went up to 8.5% in general sales tax to help us afford a larger income tax cut of the first $40,000 of income for a worker or $80,000 for a married couple. The Senate has stated they won't go up on sales tax no matter what. They won't even have conversations about it. So we heard your concerns. The sales tax in this strikeout stays at 7%. As a result, we have had to reduce the amount of the income tax cut they were able to offer the working people of this state to the first $25,000 of income. Under this strikeout would be exempt, or $50,000 for a married couple. In addition to that, the Senate has objected to our 1.5% growth trigger. They have stated that that's not historical average. Well, historical average of inflation is right at around 1.6, so we increased the 1.5 to 1.6. In addition, we have put a cap on the amount of revenue over and above 1.6 that we will use to essentially buy down or increase the exemption in the following tax year to $150 million. So right now the formula is changed to include the first 1.6% going toward continued government services. And again, this is just of growth. This 1.6% of growth will go toward government services. Everything in above 1.6% would be used to reduce or essentially increase the exemption, which is reducing the tax in the following tax year, subject to a cap of $150 million. If you had a year where you had 1.6% and the revenue plus more than $150 million, then those funds would not be used to increase the exemptions at that time. That stabilizes the amount of the income tax cuts each year. In addition, we have placed $500 million of capital expense money into a budget stabilization fund to be there for 3 years. At such time, after it's there for 3 years, it would lapse back to the capital expense fund of the state. While the money is in that fund, it can only be used to supplant any budget needs that the state has during those approximately 3 years. That's another exception or objection that the Senate had to our plan. We're worried about the state's money. We're worried about the state's money. And so although we believe under the prior plan there was substantial monies to continue to fund government at the increased rates, we heard the Senate, and we'll put $500 million there for 3 years to, just in case there's any downturn or any problems with our state budget. In addition to that, we do include the grocery tax reduction in this plan. However, because of the Senate's, what the Senate has stated as far as not going up on any sales tax, other general sales tax, we can't do it as much at once. It phased it out at 0.25% from 7% to 4% at 0.25% a year. And then lastly, the Senate's objection was that they refused to do our car tag bill. So they've taken, they state this is not the state's job to subsidize counties. And so we've taken that out of the bill. I know that was incredibly popular amongst our membership. My own father is mad at me about that. I told him earlier that we were taking that out, and he said he didn't agree with that. Many people don't, but the Senate has refused to do it. You know, we can carry back home to our people that we've done that. And I would present to you that I pledge further work on reducing our car tags as we go forward into next session. So that's an explanation of the strikeout, Mr. Speaker. I'll take any questions.
Question, Jim from Adams, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman yield.
Certainly.
Mr. Chairman, so let's go back to last spring. So the original bill was a bill that actually had a zero-sum balance. It balanced out. Whatever tax we eliminated, we were able to replace it with, for instance, we eliminated some exemptions. We did all we could to make it a zero balance. Isn't that correct?
Gentlemen, you're referring to the bill that passed last session of the House?
Yes, I'm starting there.
Yes, sir.
And so when the House came back and did further study because of the complaints for the Senate, those sales tax exemptions or the cuts in those exemptions that the House wisely put in because they understood a balance, you eliminated those because the Senate said that was a problem. Isn't that correct? Well, it wasn't the only reason you eliminated them.
They killed the bill last year, gentlemen.
Yeah, but that was one of the complaints.
It was.
And one of the big parts of the bill was that we were eliminating, again, I think a wise thing to do, we eliminated sales tax on groceries. We gave people a break on that. And we were able to raise sales tax on durable goods, and that way we kept cities whole. Isn't that correct?
Last year's bill and
this year.
And the prior years, the bill that was from prior and this session.
In this session.
That's correct.
And the elimination of the sales tax on groceries, even though it wasn't a full 7%, it was at least 4 to 5%. Is that correct?
Our prior bill this session went from 7 to 4. It just was we were able to afford a bigger cut initially. It went from 7 to 5.5, and then it phased down at 0.25% each year after that.
And then we also had a reduction in car tags. Isn't that correct?
50%.
And so now we got a bill that doesn't have a reduction in car tags, doesn't eliminate the sales tax on groceries, and arguably, am I correct, is not as stable and secure in terms of creating a balance where we won't be losing money in this sales tax plan.
It does not include a general sales tax offset. That's correct.
And so
it does reduce the grocery tax, though. I don't want there to be any confusion there. It does go from 7 to 4. It's just over a period of time.
So you're asking us to vote for a bill that essentially vacates the original House plan by a lot, but at least this year's House plan, from my reading, we're not anywhere close to where we started.
Well, gentlemen, I'll say this. It does, the income tax, the initial income tax cut is not as large as it was in last year's bill or in the bill earlier this year.
But we also, the sales tax on groceries is not as large either, is it? Immediately.
Oh, not immediately, but it ultimately is the same. It was 4% in both bills.
Well, I know it was 4%, but at 0.25% or 4% every year, that's going to, take 8 or 16 years?
It'll be 12.
12 years. All right, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you, which is essentially in the ballpark of what the income tax elimination would take as well, based on historical numbers.
Jim from Hines, Mr. Banks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Chairman, if you yield for just a few questions.
Yes, sir.
I believe I did hear you say that there would be no increase in the sales tax. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And there will be a reduction, of course, in the grocery tax. The gentleman to my left just asked, the gentleman from Adams. But now on the income tax reduction, what will be the total, I should say, loss of revenue in the state as this tax cut is implemented?
The first phase in year one will be approximately $700 million.
700 what?
Million.
700 million.
Yes, sir.
And then it would go up or go down? Or
No, that would be fully implemented in year one.
700 million. We have a reduction.
From that point in time, it would be subject to growth triggers, and so the rest of the income tax would only be eliminated or bought down as we continue to grow.
So we're looking at the growth to offset that for other needs that we have, like
After the initial,
roads, highways, bridges, Medicaid expansion, and other such things, right?
after the initial cut, a portion of the growth will be used to buy down the income tax. That's right.
Okay. All right, I think you covered my question. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Jim from Forest, Mr. Watson.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, if the chairman will yield.
For the former chairman, certainly.
Thank you, sir. Now, is this bill still just a tax swap?
I guess you'd have to tell me what your definition of tax swap is, gentlemen, but most people that say that are talking about an increase in other taxes, and this bill, this strikeout does not contain any increase in other taxes.
Okay, I asked the question in this way. Is this bill revenue neutral?
Let me put it this way. It is a tax cut. No doubt about it. But the money that is cut in the first year, if you take what we are bringing in this year, you subtract what this cuts by going to 25 and 50 exemptions, you are still, the state will still be taking in more money than what we will need this year to fund increase in salaries in state employees and teachers.
Okay, so you're saying this year, but this year we are operating under, what, $1 billion budget surplus?
Well, I'll tell you this, we spent 5.8, either 2.7 or 2.9 on government last year, and we're set to bring in approximately 7.1 plus, or maybe even plus that this year.
And how much over revenues are we for the current fiscal year?
That's where that 7.1 number comes from. So if you take out, project, we're approximately in the $600 to $700 million right now. You project that what this year has been through the end of June, you get to around 7.1. Some projections even more than that.
Okay, so we are about, what, $600 million over during the current fiscal year?
I think that was through February.
All right, thank you, sir. Now, just say, looking at the outer years, you're saying we'll be okay maybe for the next fiscal year, the fiscal year ending in 2023. What about the outer years? How would we be under this amendment?
Well, let me answer it this way. Other than the small reduction in grocery taxes, which would be automatic each year at 0.25%, there will be no further buy down, if you will, of the income tax unless we grow. So if the economy does not grow, then there are no cuts.
Okay, but if you can answer my question based upon what is projected at this point in those outer years, how would we be fiscal year ending in 2024, fiscal year ending in 2025? And let me ask you this question also. Has the state economist looked at this amendment to see how it would affect the outer years that I referred to?
The state economist has looked at the several proposals that have been put out there by the House and Senate this session, gentlemen. This one particularly just passed the committee, but this is based off of the numbers and the studies that the state economist has performed, as well as LBO and DOR this year.
Okay, but I'm just saying, how are they reporting this bill would fare when you look at those outer years? I remember even the bill that the House passed earlier would impact the general fund severely in those outer years.
Well, gentlemen, there would be no more cuts after the first year in this plan. So let's just use the numbers that we're talking about. If 7.1 is the revenue number that we use, the initial cut is 700 million approximately. That puts you at 6.4, if my math is right, in revenue. Well, we spent 5.8 last year. With the increases to salaries this year and other needs, we're approximately going to be in the 6.1 range. And then from that point forward, you take a snapshot. There won't be any future cuts going forward unless we grow from that point forward. And so we would still have more than enough money to fund government and take care of other needs as well.
Now, you have represented this amendment as addressing the objections I guess, or concerns of the Senate. Do you anticipate that the Senate would pass this bill if it is presented to the Senate?
Well, I certainly would ask them to. And I'll tell you, we have taken into account every objection that the Senate has expressed over the last several months. The only remaining objection to this bill would be if the Senate just says, we do not want to eliminate the tax on work in this state. That's it.
Okay, but now we are operating at this time, but for the pandemic, we wouldn't have all of this one-time money, would we not?
Well, gentlemen, I don't know that I understand your question. Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, but for the pandemic that we are still in at this point, Mississippi would not have all of this one-time money that we have at this time.
Well, certainly we did receive, the state of Mississippi has received one-time monies from the federal government, but what we're talking about, I want to be very clear, is not one-time money. This is recurring state revenue is what we're talking about only.
But we are relying upon the one-time money that we got, Mr. Chairman, as a result of the pandemic, are we not?
I don't.
In order to fund government for the current year and the next fiscal year.
Well, if you're saying we're relying on one-time money, gentlemen, for certain needs, in other words, the way we spent CARES Act money last year, or the way we anticipate spending ARPA funds in the future.
Yes, sir.
I agree with you, we're relying on it to that extent, but we are not relying on it to the point where we're using those monies and plugging into our state budget. We're not doing that, and that's not what this addresses.
Okay, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out when this bill was, or a bill was presented to the legislature, to this body a couple of years ago, it was represented as being a tax swap and somewhat revenue neutral, at least for the next couple of years. But you're saying it may not be at this point.
That's, if you're referring to the bill we passed last year, I would just say last year's bill has to stand on its own. That was a start.
Yes,
certainly, we've been looking at ways and working on elimination of the state income tax for years now. And so each year goes by, there are further developments and situations change. I would just state that the current environment is a better environment for eliminating the income tax, or at least placing that mechanism into law so that we can say at a point in time in the future, Mississippi will join 9 other states and not tax work.
Okay. Now, what percentage of the budget of the revenue is the state income tax at this point?
I have been heard projections is approximately a third.
A third. And that amounts to how much?
I couldn't say that in front of me, but that's what comes to.
And that amounts to how much?
Well, gentlemen, let me answer the question this way. The total individual income tax collections over the last year or so have been approximately, the numbers we've been given are around 1.8 billion.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Jim from Washington, Mr. Hine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentlemen,
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Gentlemen, the earlier version of this particular legislation had the reduction in car tax.
It certainly did.
And my people at home were elated about that. And I supported it basically because of the car tax. Were you aware of that?
I know you voted for it, gentlemen. It's always nice when you get your vote.
I mean, you ain't got nothing in it now that I can support, the folk, people in my community paying $1,100, $1,200, $1,300 a month for car tags. So how are we supposed to go back and tell them that we just walked away from our position?
Gentlemen, you are a more seasoned politician than I am, but so I'm sure
a public servant. Public servant.
Okay, I'm sure you'll find a way. But what I would tell my constituents, because I've got a lot of the same constituents you got, my folks like the car tag portion of the bill also. And what I'm going to tell them is that the House voted overwhelmingly to do that, and the Senate refused to go along, because that would be 100% true.
So we're going to give the Senate what they want, and we walk home with nothing. So are you saying to me, gentlemen, that the House position does not matter?
Absolutely not, gentlemen. You know me better than that. What I'm telling you, though, is that it has been the goal of my committee, the goal of the Speaker's office, and many other individuals in this body, as well as many other groups, the working people, if you will, of this state, to eliminate the income tax or set income tax elimination on a path toward to a day where we don't have a tax on work anymore. That's been a goal. It's been a primary goal, I would tell you. So, and therefore, if we have to get rid of some of the other good things that I like to accomplish that goal, even though my preference would not be to do that, I'd say some good is better than no good.
So, having said that, gentlemen, because you are a learned attorney, what's good in this bill that, you know, we can go home and say something nice about? Because everything that most of my colleagues that voted with this, everything we voted for is gone now. So what do we support?
Well, gentlemen, I would say, I know you represent working people, so.
Every day.
That's right. So it eliminates, let me back up. There is a substantial tax cut for working people in this bill right out of the gate in the first year. It's not as large, it's not the $1,300 number we use, but it's in the $800, maybe to $900 range for working people, immediate savings. And then you can tell your people that they will continue to realize income tax savings over the next 10 plus years as the income tax is eliminated, as well as you can tell your people that you cut their grocery tax from 7% to 4% over the next 12 years.
So, okay, let me make sure I understand this. So I got to wait 10 to 12 years to see some money in my pocket, where I could have saw some money in my pocket in 35 days.
Gentlemen, we got to do this responsibly, and I certainly understand what you're saying, but when the Senate has refused to go up a penny on sales tax, this is what we have, and that's why I'm presenting it to the body today.
So I just, if you would bear with me, I want to make sure I understand. So when I go home next week, I can say, we didn't cut your car tax. It's going to take you 12 years to receive a tax break, and you really got to heave ho. That's what I'm supposed to tell my folk.
Well, gentlemen, I know everybody who makes $25,000 would no longer pay their income tax. It's about $800 to $900 savings a year. So I hope you would tell them that.
Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott.
Thank you. Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, gentlemen, I didn't quite understand everything you were explaining. Can you tell me the exact amount of the first year, if this amendment that you have before us is adopted? What is the exact amount of monies that will come out of the general fund?
Well, it wouldn't be anything out of the general fund. It would, at that time, it would just be monies that we don't collect. Starting in January of 23, it'd be approximately $700 million.
Okay, so it would be $700 million out of the general fund, plus the more than $200 million on the franchise tax that we've already cut. So we're close to $1 billion that will be coming out of the general fund, right? Before we even get started.
Lady, I guess if you want to ask questions about the 2016 bill, which is what I think you're referring to, we can do that maybe another time, but I'll be happy to ask questions, answer questions about this bill.
Okay, gentlemen, well, you know, this is all tax policy, and I think you would agree that it would be important for us to have the whole picture as we make this decision. So we do know that the franchise tax is going to escalate a little more than $200 million. And you say that when this bill actually impacts the general fund, it will be $700 million, right?
The cut in the initial year, when you increase the exemptions to $25,000 for an individual worker and $50,000 for a married couple, it cost approximately $700 million.
And then can you tell us the second year what it would be?
Well, lady, at that point in time, the initial cut happens in the first year. There are no more cuts past that point. It's saved for the grocery tax. There are no more cuts unless we grow. So I can't tell you that because I don't know how much we would grow, but it would be the first 1.6% of growth would stay in the budget. Then everything over and above that, up to $150 million would be used to reduce the tax in the next following year.
Well, gentlemen, would you not agree that somebody could have told you, because in the budget book that, you know, you're on that committee and you signed, there are 3 years of 23, 24, and 25 that tells the House what the expected growth will be. So
Sure.
the expected growth you already know, right?
If you're talking about the out-year projections, I can.
That's exactly what I'm talking
I can go get
about.
the book and look at them, but I can also tell you that we're up $1 billion from last year's projections. So
Okay,
those
and so
projections are
it
off.
would be a reasonable assumption
Yeah.
for somebody to have looked to see what the second year would be. Of course, now, there's been some op-eds written that says that if you were to do this, that the second year would be a little more than $700 million as well. So we know that it's going to be 700 million, 700 million, plus the 200+ million as the franchise tax escalates. So this $1 billion in growth that you're talking about, we're fixing to eradicate that, right? If we pass this and the Senate passes it.
Liddy, I would stand by the numbers that I discussed with the gentleman, the former chairman of Ways and Means earlier when I went through. I can tell you what we're going to take in this year, approximately. I can tell you what we're spending on government. So I would just stick with those actual numbers.
Okay, gentlemen, can you explain to me then, I was listening to, I didn't quite understand. You said that you were going to create a fund, that you were going to transfer $500 million from the capital expense transfer fund. And can you explain that part of the bill to me
Sure.
again? And can you tell me exactly where that's located in the bill? Because we're trying to find it.
Council's going to look for the page number, but I can
Okay.
tell you what it does.
Okay.
That bill, lady, that part of the bill would essentially create what we call the BSF, or a Budget Stabilization Fund. The money would come out of the capital expense money, which is money, savings that we have over and above our rainy day savings that are sitting there in that account. And it would go into this stabilization fund that in the event, the first 3 years of the plan, there is any money needed for a budget hole. I submit to you, I don't believe there will be a budget hole. But if there is, that money will be there, okay? And so that money could be used, again, without using up our rainy day fund or dipping into it at all. That money will be there used for budget purposes at that time. At the end of 3 years, which is actually July 1 of 2026, according to the bill, that money would leave that fund and go back into the capital expense fund.
Okay, and so I guess I want to go back to that, what you just said. We have a rainy day fund, the working cash stabilization fund. We also, if we pass this bill, we're going to have another fund just in case we have a shortfall. We've already given Medicaid the authority that if they should have a shortfall, that they can spend up to $500 million. We've already passed a tax bill that takes in $200 million out of the general revenue. Gentlemen, for those of us, and I hope that you will give this serious consideration, for those of us that are working so hard to put more money into water, into sewer, into rural water associations for their serious problems that they're having with water, that we're doing everything that we can to put more money into roads, into bridges, trying to put more money into the program for fire trucks, that we're just trying to meet some of the basic needs of the state of Mississippi. Does it make sense for us to pass a bill that sets aside half of the capital expense fund that we have for the next appropriating year, and then we don't know what it would be for the next time, but if we had that growth, we would set that aside and give us even less dollars to meet some of these critical needs that we have in particularly our small cities, towns, villages, and hamlets?
Lady, I'm so glad you asked that question.
I hope you'll
Because here's the answer
pray
to that
with me
question.
about it, too.
Let's talk about this. We are about to spend record amounts on water and sewer infrastructure in this state. Over the last couple of years, we have spent record amounts on broadband infrastructure in this state. Since the 2018 special session on infrastructure, we are spending almost $400 million more annually on roads and bridges in this state, and we'll continue to spend more. We are about to, in this session, pass one of the largest teacher pay raises in state history, where our teachers will be paid above not only the southeastern average, but above the national average for starting teachers. All of that we are going to do and continue to do, and at the same time, we can afford the plan that's before it. It is time, lady, to give the working people of this state a break on their income taxes. The income tax, I would even say it's immoral. We want everybody to be working. Why do we tax something that we want everybody to do? That's one of the biggest problems we have in this state is our labor participation rate. Our workforce participation rate is low, and we disincentivize work because we tax it. There are 9 other states that have a tax policy in this country where they do not tax work. I'm not asking somebody to fly to Mars with me, okay? This is a better tax policy that would actually incentivize work instead of disincentivize work, instead of punishing it. And therefore, I submit to you, we're taking care of our needs in record amounts. We have substantial money. It is time to give money back to the working people of this state, and that's what this bill does.
And gentlemen, but you would agree that the monies that went into broadband, if the gentleman were here, he could tell you that that was CARES money. And you would have to agree that the bill that we passed in the House put $171 million into water and sewer, which was ARPA money. And we put $200 million into rural water, which was ARPA money, $371 million of ARPA money, non-recurring dollars. And gentlemen, when we kill bills like, I'm not going to get into that, but when we look around at the serious needs in our cities and towns, and you're talking about what we've sent to roads and what we have sent to bridges, but if the supervisors were in that balcony up there, if the mayors and city council people were in that balcony up there, they would tell you that they still have serious needs as it relates to bridges, that they have serious needs as it relates to roads. And if you take $500 million out of the capital expense fund, ladies and gentlemen, with these road projects that you think you're gonna get, that's gonna be out the window because you have taken more than 50% of the capital expense funds out. Then gentlemen, you would agree that the Appropriations Committee has already appropriated parts of the capital expense dollars now. So I think you would agree that the citizens, if the citizens could say, I think they'd rather have dollars going to fix water problems, to fix road problems, to fix bridge problems, to fix areas in their schools where they're having problems, to make sure that people have health care. I think if we were to ask the citizens, because in these other states that you're talking about, for instance, like Texas, when you go to Texas, it's a whole new world than what you have here in Mississippi. We can't even compare to Texas and them not paying income tax. Gentlemen, I'm not saying that there's not a time and place for this, but until Mississippi addresses all of its serious critical needs that we have, I think that this bill is premature until we address some of these terrible, serious needs that we have.
Lady, I appreciate your concerns. I'll just have to say I think we agree to disagree on this issue. I believe we should enact tax policy that does not punish work and that will help grow the private sector in this state. And I would submit to you, when the private sector grows in this state, then you'll start seeing some of those other things you see in other states. Okay, but we take care of our needs. We have substantial funding now, and it's time to give some of this money back to the people that pay it.
All right, I don't see any further questions. Question occurs on the strike all. If you favor the strike all, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. All right, anything further? I don't see any questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 3164. You favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 83 yeas and 33 nays, the bill passes. Gentleman yields the floor, looks like. Announcements, Mr. Clerk. Announcements, Madam Clerk.
Local and private will meet tomorrow, 5 minutes after adjournment in room 103.
Announcements by the members. Gentleman from DeSoto, Mr. Eubanks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, tomorrow morning you're invited to come be a part of the Capitol Prayer Group at 8:30. We've got Pastor, Author, and Professor Evan Lanau who will be leading us in the devotion.
All right, I don't see any further announcements. I recognize the gentleman from Octibie Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move this House be adjourned until 10 a.m. in the morning.
Motion to adjourn to 10 a.m. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. House adjourned to 10 a.m.